fix machines for a living. When a slot freezes up at 3 in the morning and a drunk tourist shakes it like a candy dispenser, I'm the guy with the little flashlight and the long patience. I like broken things because they tell the truth about where they failed. People don't. That's why. The night I opened our shared email to print coupons and saw an Uber receipt to a hotel, I stared like it would blink and change. It didn't. 5 minutes later came a second receipt from Uber Eats, wine and snacks, delivered to the same hotel, to the same floor. I took a breath. My hands felt like they belonged to someone else. The house hummed the way Reno hums after sunset. Distant freeway, a siren that's more like a song, the soft cough of the AC. Lori was out for a girls' night, so the room felt bigger. I looked around like evidence might be taped to the walls. Nothing. Just the neon from Virginia Street painting a moving blue line across our blinds. I told myself there were explanations. There are always explanations until there aren't. I went to the kitchen, set the print job I no longer cared about till later, and kept staring at the screen. The Uber said the pickup was at her office. The drop-off was a hotel with a glass tower and a lobby waterfall, 2 miles south of the casino where I change out bill validators like most guys change light bulbs. Uber Eats was Cabernet hummus platter, artisanal crackers, the kind of snack Lori giggles about because she claims crackers are a scam and then eats half the box. My first instinct was to call. My second was to drive. I did neither. I saved the receipts into a folder I named Taxes, which was almost funny because this was about accounting, only not the kind with numbers. I texted her, "Hey, everything good?" She replied, "3 dots then? Fine, don't wait up." I didn't sleep. When you've been on graveyard for years, your body learns to live between the hours. I lay there in the dim and listened to the refrigerator click and to the wind rattle a loose downspout. At 4:30, I got up and made coffee strong enough to stain the cup. I told myself a story. The story was that Lori got a ride to meet her friends at the hotel lounge because parking is a nightmare on weekends. They had wine. They had snacks. They hugged, cried, laughed. Girls' night. I tried to believe it the way you try to hit a stubborn jack. If I just keep pulling the lever, maybe this time it will land right. Then I opened our banking app. We share a card for groceries and gas and boring things. A new line item sat there like a dare. Spa nightly fee. Time stamped right between the Uber and the Uber Eats. Not a massage, not a manicure. Nightly. I tapped the detail and saw the merchant descriptor was the same hotel. Spa nightly is a thing some hotels do. They tack on a per-night charge for their rooftop mineral tubs, their eucalyptus steam, their fluffy robes that make you think you're somebody. I always thought it was a funny kind of math, like renting peace by the hour. I texted again. "How's Kelsey?" She replied 5 minutes later. "Wild as always. You know her." I stared at it and the dots that didn't come back. I blew out a breath. The coffee tasted like pennies. I took a shower hot enough to fog the mirror, got dressed in my khakis and the polo with the casino logo stitched near the shoulder, kissed my fingertips and touched her selfie on the fridge like a superstition, and drove to work. The sun was just coming up over the truckee when I hit the employee lot. The air out by the river feels honest in the morning, cold, quiet, like even the city's bad habits take a nap. The day rolled by in tickets and radios and tourists who didn't read the signs. At lunch, I sat out back by the dumpsters because that's where the breeze is, and stared at my phone. The girl's night text still sat there jaunty. The receipt still sat in the folder that wasn't taxes. I thought about the way Lori has started buying new dresses for work that look like they were designed for sulking at a rooftop bar. I thought about how her scent changed last month, how the lemon body spray turned into something expensive and soft. I thought about the way she'd begun to say I when she used to say we. At 3, I called the hotel. My voice went into that tone you use when you need a door to open and no one wants to open it. "Hi, my name is Troy. My wife left her blazer in your spa last night and I'm trying to see if anyone turned it in. I hate lying." It sits wrong in my mouth. The girl at the desk sounded young and bored in the corporate way. "What's the name on the reservation?" she asked. "Lori," I said. "Lori Holt." Pause. Clacking keys. The sound of a lobby echoing, that particular big room hush. "I don't see a reservation for that name," she said. I could hear somebody dragging a suitcase on tile behind her, a wheel squeak squeak. "She might have gone in as a guest," I said, and tried to sound like a guy who doesn't know the jargon. "She said she had a card for the spa, for a friend. I'm just trying to figure out where to look." "Right," the girl said, and I could hear the smile she'd been trained to put into her words. "Guest access is allowed if it's assigned to a room. The spa can add someone to the key if the main guest requests it." More clacking. "I can't give out room numbers." "I'm not asking for a room," I said. "Just whether her name is on anything. I don't want to drive across town for no reason." Another pause, like she was weighing policy against the sound of my voice. "I do see her name attached to a key card," she said finally. "Guest access was added." She stopped. "Sorry, that's all I can say." "That's more than enough," I said, and it came out too soft. I hung up and sat in the small break room behind the slot's floor and felt the building hum under my feet. Guest access. If you've never worked tech, there's a language you learn. A key card isn't just a piece of plastic, it's a log, timestamps, access points, approvals. Someone with a room had asked for Lori to be let in. She texted at 6. "Heading to Whitney's. I'll lift home. Kiss you when I get in, okay?" I typed "sure" and then deleted it. I typed "be safe" and deleted that too. I put the phone down and looked out at a man in a cowboy hat arguing with a cocktail server who could have been his daughter. When my shift ended, I drove not home, but to the hotel. The sky over Reno does that sodium vapor orange this time of year. It makes the city look like a lit cigarette. I parked 2 blocks away in a spot that said 2 hour only, as if the curb paint could read my mind. In the lobby, water fell from a sheet of glass into a shallow pool. 2 couples in sequins were taking photos in front of it. I stood off to the side in my polo that said, "I fix problems," and tried not to look like a problem. I didn't go up. I didn't even go to the bar. I just watched people flow to elevators and back, watched the way the doors whispered and shut, watched the way everyone looks like everyone when they're trying to be no one. At 10:40, my phone lit. "On my way down," she wrote. "Pick me up out front?" My stomach did the thing where it tried to climb into my throat. "Sure," I wrote, and walked outside. A wind had come up, the kind that smells like dry grass. The porte cochere was a choreography of taxis and Ubers and valets moving like they were underwater. I stood to the side, hands in my pockets. The elevator bank is visible from the entrance through floor to ceiling glass. At 10:51, a door slid open and Lori stepped out. She looked incredible. I hate that that was my first thought. Hair down in soft waves. That new dress, the one she said was on sale, but somehow cost what an alternator costs. Heels. Her lips had that stained wine sheen like she'd been sipping something dark. She turned her head toward the doors like a person coming up from under a wave and needing to see the horizon. Then, a man stepped out behind her. Close, not touching. Close like gravity. He was one of those office guys with a no barber cut haircut and a sports jacket he thinks makes him look taller. He reached as if to guide her and then thought better of it. She saw me at the same time I saw his hand. Her face went through all 4 seasons in 2 seconds. "Troy," she said when she got close enough. Her smile was a shape her mouth knew, but her eyes didn't. "You're early." "You look surprised," I said. "It's windy," she said, like that explained anything. "This is—" "I know what this is," I said. And then I did a thing I am proud of, because it wasn't a shout or a scene. It was a boundary. I looked at the man. "We're good here," I said. "You can go." He lifted his hands like I was a cop, and he was a guy with a broken taillight. "Hey, man." "Elevator's right behind you," I said. He hesitated. He wanted to say a line. They always do. He thought better of it, because there is a certain tone that means, this won't be the night you wanted. He walked back inside. The doors closed. The glass reflected our two faces like a bad joke. Lori's voice came out small. "It's not what you think." I laughed. I couldn't help it. It wasn't a happy sound. "Say the line again," I said. "Maybe it'll hit different the second time." She put her hand on my arm. I shook it off. "It's girls' night," she said, which was almost funny standing in front of a hotel where neither of us had a room. We had drinks and spa nightly, I said, and guest access, and Uber up and Uber Eats to the 12th floor. And now you're walking out of an elevator with a man who isn't me. "It's complicated," she said. "It's actually pretty simple," I said. My voice was calm in that way that scares even me. "You are seeing someone. You used our card. You used our email. You used our city like a backdrop." "Troy, please." Her eyes shone like she was going to cry and then change their mind. "Can we not do this here? Can we?" "We can do it wherever you want," I said, "but I'm not paying for it." She blinked. "What?" "The spa charge," I said. "The food. The Uber. If you want to have a romance, pay for it yourself. Don't make me tip the waiter." Her mouth opened and closed. "It was just tonight." "No," I said, and there it was, the thing that hurts more than anger, the part where you stop pretending. It's been a lot of nights. I fix logs for a living. I know patterns. Tuesdays, Fridays, the new perfume that didn't come from our bathroom, the way you say my name like an appointment reminder. She touched her heel to the concrete like it hurt. "He makes me feel like you're 22, I said. "Got it." "That's not fair," she said. "What's fair is you not charging wine to our card while you hold a stranger's hand." I didn't hold. "I don't care if your elbows touched," I said, too tired for the choreography. "I'm driving you home. You can pack a bag." She stared at me like she didn't know which line to try next. The valet whistled for a cab. Somewhere, a slot player whooped. The desert wind licked the flame in the fire bowls and made it look like the night was breathing. "I'll call a lift," she said. I shrugged. "Call whoever you want. You're a grown woman." I walked to my truck. She came after me because of course she did. In the cab, we rode in silence. Reno slid past, neon and pawn shops and murals that make you feel like the city is trying to surprise you into hope. In the kitchen, I put my keys in the bowl we bought at a craft fair when we thought buying bowls was the kind of problem we'd always have. She stood there like a person in a museum staring at a painting of her own life. "Are we done?" she said. "We're done paying," I said. "The rest is paperwork." "Dull brand trim." I didn't mean. "You meant exactly what you did," I said. "People don't accidentally check in under guest access and accidentally order Cabernet to the 12th floor." She pressed her palms to the counter. "You're being cruel." "No," I said, "I'm being clear." She slept in the spare room that night. I lay on our bed and stared at the ceiling and listened to the clock like it was a person tapping its foot. In the morning, I called the bank. My voice was steady. "I'd like to dispute some charges," I said, and I used the words unauthorized and fraudulent and joint account, and I explained that I did not consent to hotel spa access or room deliveries. The woman was kind in that trained way. She asked for dates and amounts. She asked if I had receipts. I did. She filed a claim. "You'll get a provisional credit," she said. "If the merchant disputes it, we'll ask for more documentation." "Please do," I said, and sent screenshots before she could ask. Then I called a lawyer a buddy at work had used when his ex tried to refinance the house out from under him. "I'm not looking to burn the world," I said. "I just don't want to pay for a party I wasn't invited to." The lawyer chuckled. "You'd be surprised how often that's the brief," he said. "He told me what documents to save. He told me what not to text. He drafted a letter about misuse of marital assets that felt like it had rust in it. When it arrived in my inbox, I read it twice and felt both smaller and bigger. The next week was a hallway I had to walk even if the exit door said alarm will sound. Lori tried a new dance every day. Apology, rage, bargaining. She made pancakes. She wore sweatshirts. She tried to kiss me in the doorway like muscle memory. I kept my hands in my pockets and my voice in the middle of my throat. We spoke about the water bill and the dog food and my mother's birthday and not about the 12th floor. One night, she tried honesty. "It's Derek," she said, and the name didn't surprise me. The man with the sports jacket. A guy from her marketing department who always laughed too hard at his own jokes when we were all out at company bowling. "It was a mistake," she said. "It kept happening." I said nothing because sometimes quiet is the only way to let another person hear themselves. "Do you hate me?" she asked. "I'm too busy," I said. "The bank put the credit through." "The what?" "The chargeback," I said. "For the spa and the wine and the rides." I told them I didn't authorize the charges. They agreed. "You can't just—" "I can," I said. And then I said a thing I didn't know was waiting in my throat. "I'm done financing your romance, emotionally and literally." She looked at me like I'd asked her to pay for the air. "You're such a accountant," she said, and almost smiled. "Because that's our joke. I count, I tally, I keep things running. You always have to balance the sheet." "Balance is not revenge," I said. "It's math." She moved into her sister's place in Sparks the following week. We split the dog like reasonable people. He doesn't know he is a symbol. He just knows who throws the ball farther. HR at her office strongly suggested she and Derek not be on the same projects, which is the corporate way of saying, "Don't get caught again." I'm not sure they heard it. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. It doesn't matter to me. My life now has a shape that doesn't have room for their story as anything but distant weather. When the certified letter from my lawyer went out, Lori called me at work. "A letter?" she said. "Really?" "You used our card," I said. "I'm not paying for your hotel habit." "It was one." "It was many," I said. "And even if it was one, it's not my one." "You're cold," she said. "I'm not throwing plates," I said. "I'm not Facebooking your coworkers. I'm not telling your mother anything that isn't true. I'm just making sure my paycheck doesn't buy you a robe you don't wear at home." "God," she said, and hung up. A week later, the hotel contested the chargeback. They sent photos of signatures, logs of keycard access, language about guest privileges. The bank asked if I wanted to respond. I sent the lawyer's letter. I sent my declaration that I never consented to the charges. I attached the text where Lori said, "Girls' night," and the timestamps that kissed the receipts on the mouth. The bank sent a final note. Credit confirmed. The money stayed. It wasn't a fortune, but it was the principal. A man needs at least one thing in a week that tells. The night after the credit landed, I went for a drive. Reno glowed like it always glows, fake and lovely, a Christmas tree in June. I passed the truck stop where Lori once said the burritos taste like sadness, and we laughed until we cried. I passed a wedding chapel with a lit neon arrow that points at your future and watched a couple roll inside, her dress the kind that makes all the aunties happy. I was not sad. I wasn't happy either. I wasn't happy either. I was something like clean. A month later, the papers were signed. We didn't have kids, which made everything harder and easier in the ways that never match what people think. We split the house proceeds right down the middle. She kept the fancy stand mixer neither of us used. I took the toolbox that smells like WD-40 and stubbornness. I got a small apartment on the 3rd floor of a place that backs up to a field where you can hear crickets and teenagers daring each other to jump a fence. I bought 2 bowls and 2 plates and 1 pan. I learned that a man can make a lot of meals in 1 pan if he sets his mind to it. Sometimes, when I'm on the late shift and the floor is quiet and the machines purr like cats with gold teeth, I think about the elevator doors opening. I think about how calm I felt, how the anger waited and never fully arrived. I think about how people talk about power like it's loud, when sometimes it is just a man in a polo saying, "I'm not paying." I fixed the part of the system I could fix. I cut the line where my money was being used to buy me a story I didn't like. Lori texted me last week. A picture of our dog asleep on his back with his paws in the air like he's being arrested by a dream. She wrote, "He misses you." I sent back, "I miss him too." She didn't ask about my apartment. I didn't ask about hers. That is our truce. We are two people who chose and chose again, and now we live inside the math of those choices. There's a thing my father told me when my mother left. He said, "Son, sometimes being a man is knowing which bills are yours." I thought he meant rent and tires. I think now he also meant the kinds of bills you pay with your soul. If you give your heart to someone, fine, give it clean. But don't hand them your bank card and tell yourself you're romantic. If there's one lesson in a lobby waterfall and a 12th floor door opening and a spa charge with a pretty font, it's this: love is not a subscription you auto-renew out of habit. I don't know if Lori and Derek are still a thing, or if they burned out like most flares do. I don't know if she ever walks into a hotel now and thinks about the way the glass doors whisper shut. I don't want to know. I don't need the log file anymore. I got what I needed. I heard the truth, and I didn't let it empty my wallet before it emptied our house. I keep a copy of the bank's credit notice in my desk. Not because of the money, because of what it means. It's a page that reads like a receipt for a boundary. Provisional credit approved. Final credit confirmed. It sits next to a photo strip from a booth downtown where Lori and I once stuck out our tongues and did bunny ears and kissed like teenagers. Both belong to the same life. I don't hate the kid in those photos. I don't hate the man in that bank letter. I've been both. If you ever find yourself staring at a line on your statement that makes your chest hollow, don't let anyone tell you money doesn't matter. It's not about being petty. It's about saying this part is on me and this part is not. It's about walking to a truck under a hotel awning and deciding to drive home without the person who thinks a spa robe is worth your pride. It's about paying for what you keep and refusing to fund what you won't. Would you have done the same? Or would you have kept the peace and just eaten the charges to avoid the fight? Where's your line between forgiveness and becoming a doormat? If this story hit you, tell me what part and why. Like, comment, and subscribe for more.